Hey y'all, my name is Jason, and this is Stravaeger. I've been working on this game for a little over a year now. I thought it might be time to show it off to the world. So I'm going to do a little playthrough today of the early game content, at least as it stands today. Along the way, I'll probably go into some technical detail about how the game works and what I was thinking when I built this feature or that. You'll be getting a bit of a developer podcast as well as a playthrough. As you can see, the game is a retro survival RPG. We start off by doing the basic survival thing that you're probably used to. You pick up sticks and rocks that you find on the ground. Eventually you have enough sticks and rocks that you can tie a rock to the end of a stick and make yourself an axe. That sort of thing. There's also things you would find in a typical role-playing game, such as towns with NPCs to talk to. So here we are, found a couple of people here at spawn to talk to. They're going to get us pointed on our merry way. Overall, you might notice that the game looks a lot like one of the old Ultimas, Ultima 3, Ultima 4, that vintage, and that's intentional. That's the whole graphic style that we're kind of going for here, to kind of cram the gameplay of Valheim into the user interface of an Ultima game. So it looks old and retro, but it's pretty modern in the way that it plays. You drive it around with the keyboard controls, like you normally do, W, A, S, and D, E to pick things up. Things like control and shift actually do things. You can sprint. You can accomplish most things with the mouse or touch input. The game's mobile friendly, so you can play the whole thing on your phone if you want. But it works out a lot better to treat it more like a modern game where you're sitting at your keyboard, driving around, looking around, that sort of thing. Alright, let's make some progress. So we got ourselves a stone axe. Survival game, first thing you're supposed to do accomplished. And we've picked a mushroom and an apple. Alright. So that's kind of what we're up to now. We're just doing the kind of early survival game thing. Just collect all the stuff that you see in the hopes that eventually it'll become useful. You can go try to fight some stuff if you want, but early on you're not all that strong. Oh yeah, gotta get a build hammer too. So we can start making ourselves a base and all the things that you're supposed to do, and then we're going to rock this thing, right? So this world we're exploring is all procedurally generated, and it's big, like proper big. Let's see, we have chunks of 64 by 64 tiles, and the grid of chunks goes 100 by 100. So what is that? 6400 by 6400 tiles. So big. Ultima 3, the entire world map was 64 by 64 tiles for comparison. And Ultima 4, I think it was only 4 times that big. Maybe 16 by 16. But it was not ridiculously big. So there's a lot of world to explore here. Now part of the reason why the world needs to be so big is because I'm making one major change from Ultima in that you don't zoom in to go into towns. The entire world is on the same scale, that is. So when you find a town, you just walk into the town. And the towns are also 64 by 64 tiles. So there has to be enough world out there that you can actually fit one of these towns in and not just have them be stuck right side by side. So you walk out of one town, go across 10 feet of grass, and into the next town. Nobody likes that. So, got to make the world a little bit big so that you can run around and actually explore it a bit. As it turns out, it's bigger than I've been letting on because there's also up and there's also down. So you can have towers and castles that go upstairs, and you can have dungeons that go down underground. In fact, dungeons do go down underground quite a ways. Like 16 levels so far, but there's no particular reason that they can't go 100 by 100 up and down either. All right, here we are. So this is a town. This is what it looks like. You just kind of stumble across it as you go. As it happens, this one we were given directions to by one of the guys at spawn. That was why there's a little icon on the map. But they're full of people to talk to, things to do. Oh yeah, things for sale too. So one of the philosophies in this game is that you can accomplish the entire thing, win the game without ever talking to a person, just by building stuff. You can play it like any regular survival game. Tie the stick to the rock, make the thing, and eventually you have, mech armor and battle cruisers and things like that, or more likely just magical swords and stuff like that. Or if you really don't like crafting things and for some reason want to play this game, you don't have to, because you can find money out in the world. Or you can collect mushrooms and sell them to the farmer guy here and get money. And as a result, you can buy pretty much everything you need from stores. If you don't want to make your own food, for instance, you could just buy it. Similar, if you don't mind making your own food, but you don't want to have to craft your own weapons and armor, well, go for it. You can do whatever you want. So you may have noticed the way that conversations work in this game. It's a lot like how Ultima 4 used to do it, where you have keywords that you use to talk to people. You don't have to click things off a menu if you want. You can actually type those things in. You'll see there's a little chat box down there that you can use to do typing in. Everybody has a few things that they know that they can talk about. They have a name, and they have a job, and some of them have a home. Most people have a home. And then when you talk to them about whatever, they will clue you in on other topics that they can do. And I built it so that you can actually just do the whole thing with the mouse if you prefer, because nobody likes typing things. And certainly nobody likes writing things down in a journal and doing video games like we used to back in the 80s. And, well, that's fine. So one of the things that people can do is they can put things on your map for you. That was how we got this town itself onto the map in the first place. But this guy just told us about something that we have to know about in the future. I guess you can think of that as like a quest marker. Although the game doesn't actually have quests that you have to do. It just has stuff you can do. And if you don't feel like doing it, you don't have to do it. Finally, you might have noticed that one of these people told us to go talk to somebody else about something. And then when we talked to that somebody else, there was a new option on his conversation menu for the thing that we wanted to talk about. So that's a similar idea to something that we had in Ultima 4, where people would say, go see this guy in this other town. And it's a sort of easy way to keep track of it. You don't have to keep your own paper journal to remember that you talked to this guy in this other town. Next time you're there, if you happen to talk to this guy, you'll notice that he's got something written down on his conversation log, and you can just click it. Here we are. Here's a good example right here. Go talk to this guy back at spawn and ask him about sparks. And if you remember enough to go do that, good things will happen, I bet. I'm sure that I'll pull it up at some point here, but there's a conversation log as well. You don't have to actually write this stuff down if you don't want, because you're a modern video game player and that's not something that you do, write notes. Notes get written for you automatically. And so you have a perfect memory of everything anybody ever said to you. And you can just pull down a list of all the people you ever talked to and be able to look at all the things that they ever said to you, thus making life easy. And easy, I guess, is kind of an important thing here, because modern gamers seem to be a little bit more lazy than we used to be, which is, I guess, good, because it's not all that much fun to keep a dedicated journal to this stuff. And I certainly don't do it in other games. All right, so since this is the first town that you're going to come across, a lot of the NPCs here, their job is to kind of teach you about the game, tell you what kind of things that you can do, tell you things like you're supposed to build your own base, tell you things like you're supposed to build a crafting hammer, be able to build things like that. Because if you've never played a game like this, or if you're coming off of Ultima 3 as your last experience playing a video game, and you've been living under a rock, well, you probably ought to learn these things. So this guy's going to tell you about the rest system and comfort and building houses and all that sort of thing, because that's important. And if you don't know that you're supposed to eat food and you don't know that you're supposed to rest, then you will certainly die rapidly, and that's not something that we want our people to do. So the NPCs are there to help you along a little bit. Other games might have a annoying crow that follows you around and rests on top of stuff all the time to tell you what to do, but we got people. So if you were quick on the draw a month or so ago, you might have noticed all these videos came out already. This is not a brand new video to the universe. I released all this stuff, but I released it without any sound, no talking over the top of it. And some people watched the first one, but nobody watched the second one. So I'm getting the impression that quiet, silent videos are not the thing. So I'm going to experiment by putting this one back out with me talking over the top of it. And you can hear the melodious sound of my beautiful voice. I would definitely appreciate, let me know in the comments whether you prefer it this way, whether you would want me to just shut up and let it be silent again, or whether I should just give a little bit of an intro at the beginning and then just play the video game, or some sort of combination of the two. Chime in from time to time as I go, or whether it's a better plan to just be yakking away the entire time, pretending like I'm a YouTuber or something. Well, we'll see. Anyway, back to the game at hand. You'll notice that I have crafted myself a sling. Killed my first couple of zebus, got some leather, and now I'm like a ranged combat machine, which I should be if I would go over and kill something. Originally, I didn't have the sling in the game. You had to kill a bunch of zebus, get some leather, and make yourself a bow. But the problem is that the little cows that you see running around, the zebus, they're pretty tough, and they tend to just kill you dead. And most of the people that played the game to start with just got murdered by them before they ever really had a good solution to killing them. So I found a bit of a interim solution by letting you just kill one of them. If you can manage to murder one cow, you can get some leather and then a couple of little squitz guys. That should give you enough stuff to be able to make the first ranged weapon in the game. And what you do is you run around, you pick up rocks, and now you can throw them at stuff, which means you should be able to kill a deer or two. Not the most efficient way to doing things, and it's not a particularly good weapon for the late game, but it gets you started, which is cool. I kind of like the idea of having you spend as much time as possible in this early game, because the early game of a survival game is the best, I think, where you're running around fighting deers, fighting pigs, picking berries, just kind of getting yourself started, building your first base, that sort of thing. I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to do that and a reason to do all that stuff. And so if we just immediately let you move on to, crazy good bow, that kind of thing, you might skip the stuff. You might move on, and next thing you know, you're in the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, and then you're making particle accelerators and laser blasters and hover packs. And, well, you've kind of skipped most of the fun parts of the game, in my opinion. Speaking of skipping stuff, I should probably get back into my YouTuber content creator mode for a second and ask you guys to tell me in the comments how you like the pacing of the video. Do you actually want to watch the entire playthrough step by step as I go along and in real time? Or would you rather I cut some stuff out? Do you need to watch me kill every single one of these deer? Or can we stipulate that I can kill deers and that I will go collect some deer pelts now and we'll get on to the next interesting thing? Or should I have little snippets of me doing this sort of stuff interspersed? Should I have a time lapse of me doing a bunch of stuff rapidly? Let me know, because I haven't edited up the rest of these videos yet, and there's a lot of content to play through. Even the early game content that I have right now, it's still hours of footage, hours of gameplay, which is, I guess, kind of cool. The game's actually going to keep you going for hours and stuff. I was expecting that this would go a lot faster initially when I was building it, but it turns out there's actually a lot to do, and it's not quite as involved as a AAA survival game that has a million things to do and tons of crafting recipes and grind, but I think it's a pretty good balance. You get, there is quite a bit that you can do, which is cool. All right. So you might ask what I'm up to right now. My dude in the game, that is, not me in my life. Why is this dude running around picking up rocks and killing deers all this stuff? And the answer is it's just me being greedy. I got this sling, and now I can finally murder all these deers, of which there are tons floating around spawn because none of them have been killed yet. So I'm doing that. I'm actually on my way back to spawn to complete a task that I was given earlier. If you were paying attention to the dialogue and trying to suck up as many spoilers as you could, you'll know what that is, but I'm not going to tell you because I kind of want you to play the game. That's the reason that I'm making it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna murder some deer. You might notice that there's a ton of deer near spawn. That's sort of a side effect of a change that I made not too long ago. After the first release of the game, the first little bit of feedback I got, you would walk out of the little spawn sanctuary area and just immediately get murdered by these pig things, I guess cow things, zebus, because they would spawn anywhere that there was grass, just like the deers do and just like these little scritzes do. But they would do it right next to spawn, and so you'd walk out there, go, oh, look, a pretty thing to pet. I'll go see what he's doing. And then he would just kill you. And then he'd be hovering over your body, and you would think that, having played games before, that I got to get my body back because it's got all my good stuff in it. The good stuff being a stick, 3 rocks, and a mushroom. But you'd get yourself killed 14 times trying to get that stick, rock, and 3 mushrooms back, as well as the set of rags that my guy's wearing. And that's a little bit... It was annoying to watch people getting into the same trap over and over again. You gotta get on with your life. Get your new dude. So the quickest way to do it was to make it so that the zebus don't spawn right next to spawn. They spawn farther away. All right, story seems to be happening. My dude's got a spark. He got one somehow. I hope you weren't paying attention. If you don't want spoilers, because something happened. But anyway, you use the sparks to light portals, and when you light a portal, well, then it's the fast travel system for the whole world. And as it happens, my dude's found that this portal happens to be hooked up someplace. Story. Again, sorry for spoiling stuff if you didn't want to see it. You should probably go play the game if you want to actually play the game. Some of the stuff might change, so it's possible that you might get unspoiled in the future. But basically the story so far is that all the portals in the world, as this guy is talking about now, have been disconnected, except for this one. In this little town somewhere that we're just now discovering. And so when we relit the one at spawn, it connected up to this. Doesn't connect to anything else in the world. Lots of other towns in the world will have broken portals that you can light back up. And eventually that's kind of part of the goal of the game, is to get all these portals reconnected and get the fast travel system up and running again. You can actually make portal frames yourself. I've made it so that they're not particularly expensive, so you can have a portal at your base. But I have tweaked things a little bit to work around an issue that I have with a lot of games like this, especially like Valheim. One of the things that people always say playing Valheim is always keep a portal in your pocket as you're exploring, so that whenever it gets dark or you get into trouble, you can just put the portal down and portal straight back home. And that's true. It keeps you safe and it keeps you alive. But boy, does it suck the fun out of the game. Some of my best experiences playing Valheim have been being out on a boat in the middle of the night with sea serpents chasing you around, and you stop off on some little island and you fight off the various enemies that are there, and you build a little camp with a little fire on it, a little roof over you, and a little bed, and you sleep the night there. And then you break it all back down, get back in your boat, and off you go the next day. Or you leave it sitting there so in case you come by again in the future. Having to actually survive the night someplace, just camping out on your own, that's a pretty cool thing. And if you always have a portal with you, you miss out on that. And so I wanted to make sure that kind of force it so that people play my way, the way that I like to play, which is don't ever carry a portal around. And the way that I pulled it off in this is to make these things called sparks that you use to light the portals up with. And they're single use. You turn a portal on and it's on. Your spark disappears. And then if you want, you can break the portal, no big deal, but you don't get your spark back. You get the portal materials back. So that means that every time you want to light a portal, you have to go find another one of these things. And sure, you could farm them somehow. You could find enough of them and get stacks and stacks of them, so you could always just stick a new one in your pocket when you go. So the second thing I did is I made them heavy. They take up almost half your inventory space, or inventory weight, your carry weight. So yeah, you can carry one of these around, but then you're kind of limited in what else you can do. So it really kind of stops you from always having one of these things with you, and makes it so that you're more inclined to plan ahead, bring some wood, be able to find some wood, be able to stay the night, or plan ahead your journey so that when you get to where you're going, you have enough stuff to build a new portal at that end, but also keep it there. Don't break it just kind of on a whim, just to move it a few feet, or just to pick it back up and continue your exploration. All right. So in the meantime, while I was blabbing on about portals, we've been exploring this new town that we just found. Talking to some of the people at the bar, talking to some of the people in the other places, we may have uncovered another spoiler or two that you might not have wanted to know. But hopefully you weren't paying very good attention and you were listening to me talk instead. We did find the location of a new town that's going to be useful later in the game. And I think that we found the location of another thing that we have to go do. We have a couple of early game quests. One of them is to connect the portal to this town, which, well, hey, we've done. And another one is to undig this town from the mountains. It's cut off from the rest of the world. And then part of the story, they had this portal that would get them in and out for a while, even after they were cut off from being able to walk out. But they would very much like to have their pass cleared. But they don't have a pickaxe, and so they need to go fight the big thing that has the pickaxe or whatever. They need to somehow craft a pickaxe. And we can learn from talking to these guys and talking to some of the people in the other towns what's going on with that. Evidently, we haven't talked to this here mayor, but he's telling us all about this right now. I'll let you read. There you go, just what I said. Town stuck in the mountains, no way out. Well, until you connected that portal, of course. And then this guy's going to tell you about another place in the world that you haven't visited that maybe will be relevant later on. There it is. More stuff on the map, which is cool. I don't know. So there's going to be quite a few towns in the world, towns and villages. At the moment, there's maybe 6 or 7 of them, but there's no reason not to make more. The game's still pretty early in development, story-wise. A lot of the gameplay mechanics are here, but the story itself still needs content poured in. But I'd kind of rather get the mechanics actually playing the game sorted out and working really well before I go too far down into building things out. Here's something you can do one of these gameplay mechanics that I've already fleshed out, and that's taming animals. And this guy's telling you about them. So you can actually take those cow things that are chasing you around trying to murder you, and if you can trap them and feed them, you can tame them, and then you can have unlimited cheeseburgers, which is cool. So these towns, they're all handcrafted, and as you can see, they're not just randomly generated. They're real things that I've built, but they seamlessly drop themselves onto the generated map. Little geeky technical details. They have a set of criteria for how they need, or what the terrain underneath them needs to look like. So like that mountain town, it needs to live in the mountains. So it needs to know that each of the 4 corners of its little chunk have to have either mountains or hills around it. Has to be a certain distance from spawn, has to be a certain distance from other towns, and a few other criteria. Has to have, when you get that mountain pass open, that mountain pass has to be exposed to the rest of the universe. So there's all these criteria that it can go down the list of and randomly drop these towns all over the map. So it drops all these towns, and then it also drops a bunch of kind of pre-made structures all over the place. Little things, like I'm sure you've seen a few of them, little wells and things like that we've passed. And then it also drops these rivers. So it's pretty complicated terrain thing. So nothing looks boring. There's always something interesting going on around the corner. I think right now my dude is making a little shack so that he can get rested up. The whole concept of being rested is an idea I stole from Valheim, but you have it in lots of other video games. The idea is that you want to have been sitting next to a fire, being indoors in a bed or something like that. And if you are rested and good to go, you get bonuses out of the deal. Or you can think of it as a penalty for not being rested. If you stay out too long and your rest runs out, you don't recover as fast, can't run as far, hit points don't recover. You might even have an experience points penalty depending on what the game is. And it kind of ties into the whole philosophy of this modified survival thing. You notice that there's no bar for hunger or thirst or this sort of thing. If my guy doesn't eat, he doesn't actually die of hunger. But you'll notice he just ate a little bit and his health's going up. His maximum health is increased and his maximum stamina is increased. So different foods give you different maximums of stamina and health, and you can use a combination of those to kind of find a balance of how you want to play. If you want to have more stamina, you eat more stamina foods like fruit and veg. If you want to slug it out in combat, you want to have cooked meat, protein, so you can have higher hit max. You notice also that my guy shows movement penalties at 85%. I think that's because he's carrying his axe around. When you're carrying heavy things, it slows you down. When you're not, it doesn't. Similarly, if he was ever to pick too much stuff up and go overweight, he would just slow to a crawl. All right, here we are indoors, making our first pretty little house, making ourselves a bed. The bed needs to be inside. It needs to be next to a fire so it can be warm. We can't really force a roof because, well, there's no roofs. It's only 2D, but we can force it to be enclosed. So I can calculate your exposure percentage by looking around you guy and seeing what's going on. All right, there you go. He slept through the night. Did you notice that there's night, by the way? As you go through the day, the light levels drop at nighttime. Then they go back up during the day. So yeah, let's finish this little house off. We move the workbench around so it's a little bit more usable inside of here. Workbenches also require you to be inside, or at least have some sort of walls around them. So yeah, look at that. We built ourselves a bow. Now we're killing machines, what we're going to be. I don't know if we bought building arrows. I guess we're going to go find some more wood so we can get some arrows. But now we can go murder some deers with our brand new bow. And we're ready to cast off onto our adventure here. I think we're probably just about ready to head off and start working on some of these early bosses. See if we can find some of these points of interest that we've got marked on the map and see what's there. I imagine it's dangerous and exciting and cool. But that should probably do us for the day. What do you reckon? Pick up some more sticks, get ourselves prepped up, and next time we will carry on. Go have some adventures. Again, let me know what you think about this style of video. Do you prefer me spending the entire time talking? Would you rather I spent more time talking about the game that I'm playing? Would you rather me spent more time talking about development, that kind of thing? How I built it, what kind of my thought process was when I built various bits of it. Don't know. But let me know, and I will catch you guys next time. All the best.